So as part of Dusty S's ongoing coverage of DreamHack Dallas and part of our Save NA highlight initiative, I found a very interesting group of people here. These are the assembled casters of the lower tiers of NACS. Gentlemen, who the hell are you?
I'm ynoT FPS. Nice to meet you.
I'm Vinson Cast.
I'm BirdehBox.
Boggs.
Laz.
Pineapple Phillip.
Cernersandals.
So there you go. The two. 7 of the busiest people in North America. Why are the 7 of the busiest casters in North America? And that leads me to my first question with you guys. Why do you do what you do? We all know that a match without a caster is boring and no one watches it. No one watches Raw Go TV. But what inspired you guys to get into casting and then the decision to stay with, NA Advanced, NA Main, CCT qualifiers, random European matches at 4 a.m., random Australian matches at midnight? Why is it that you do what you do, and how important do you think it is to the NA scene? Raise your hand if you want to talk.
Yeah, so the drive for me came first when I was listening to casters at a lower level that I didn't actually very much like. That's where it really started. I think that I have been watching Counter-Strike for long enough and have had enough input inside of the scene as a player and coach to think that I understand the game well enough. I can also talk well, I think, and listening to these casters, I thought that I could do a good job. I proved that I could do a good job, and I think that I can improve my ceiling more than most can. I think that's an important thing to have as a caster.
Yeah, so personally for me, after several years of playing and coaching, it came to a point where I didn't want to deal with the drama of actually being in the scene anymore, but I still wanted to emphasize how much I enjoyed talking about the game and especially at a theoretical level, explaining to other people what was important and how you could think about the game at a deeper level than what you could see at face value. And I think casting was a good opportunity to do that, while also be able to just help other people out, help myself out in my own way.
I mean, I always loved broadcasting from my days playing hockey and everything too. Steve Carroll was the radio broadcaster for the Anaheim Ducks, absolute legend, and kind of an inspiration for me in general. And it's kind of for the love of the game, really. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy telling the story about what's going on and sticking through North American Counter-Strike through its ups and downs and whatever craziness makes up this region. We have to be here to support it if we want to have teams that can compete at the top level. It starts with people watching. It starts with people supporting the teams, grassroots teams like B&B, Party Astronauts who are still around. We need to support those teams if we still want to have events like Dallas.
Yeah, and I was just going to say for me, I've been following the game for 20 years, which is a long time. But honestly, it is the passion. It's the storytelling and just being able to, express all the good moments and all the bad moments.
I started in collegiate to work on my interpersonal and speaking skills because my friends didn't have anybody to watch and to stream it. And so a lot of my friends were in the collegiate scene. They were better than me. I said, I don't have a shot at this point. I'm going to cover their games for my buds as well as theirs. And then it just kind of went off from there.
I don't know. I mean, esports is something I always grew up in, and I've been following it for so long with Counter-Strike, Halo, stuff like that. And kind of COVID 2020, I was I've been playing for a while, but I kind of found this. I was like, you know what? I can talk about Counter-Strike all day, right? I can do it day in, day out for whatever. And I was like, I might as well put it towards casting. And I love telling the story, kind of like what you said, and just working and just seeing these teams grow throughout seasons and throughout playoffs and everything like that. It's all about that all-encompassing, just together story of how it all goes.
So for me, it's really about telling players stories. I think that's really important, and without the storyline continuation, it kind of takes away from the overall the impressiveness of the scene and everyone in it. Not to mention just having the accessibility to get somebody in there who probably wouldn't watch otherwise if there wasn't a caster or somebody to kind of help explain it and work through what's happening in the game. Adding that accessibility, I think, is really important, especially for even lower tier games in NA.
And with that in mind, we're a real. I think you guys are an assembled sort of brotherhood of arms from the events you're willing to do. There's highlights and there's lowlights. So I first wanted to ask you, what is the best moment you've had as a part of as a part of any broadcast? What is the highlight of your career so far on broadcast?
Definitely casting a bunch of LANs is always a good time, and casting the players you always looked up to. I know when I got to cast Semphis back in the time, that was a really good experience for me. He lives in my hometown, and someone I always looked up to as well.
For me, I haven't done a LAN, I haven't had that luxury yet, but I would say definitely the Road to Rio RMRs back in the day, casting 9Z. I think we casted 9Z twice, and they fended off at least one of the big Brazilian teams at that time, pulled off a tremendous comeback. Those were definitely the high points for me thus far in my career.
One of them, I have to agree, was with Pineapple. It was the Imperial versus 9Z newt game. I think they were down 13-4, ended up winning in first overtime. That's one of them. Another one was Riot Squad, INTZ, Best of 5, MDL Global Challenge Finals.
I think a highlight for me has been casting X13 throughout season 43 and 44, because season 43 it was a weak season for them. They looked pretty weak, and then they kind of had a little mini rebuild. They swapped a couple players, and then season 44 they make it to playoffs. They go down lower bracket, almost flawless run to the grand finals, and then a 5. I didn't cast the grand final, but getting to cast them through that lower bracket run all the way through the lower bracket final was just so good to just get it all there with Gonzo and Drew the Shrew, Andrew, and Farrell, and oh man, Penguin as well. Penguin. There we go.
Dude, they can say the names on broadcast, but they can't say the names when on camera. That's how it goes sometimes.
We have a cheat sheet on broadcast.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no cheat sheets here. There's no easy way out, right?
Yeah, no. For me, I think one of the things I enjoy most casting the most is actually the advanced grand finals that we do almost every single season. It's an opportunity. I mean, most of us do it just out of our own spare time, and we're able to put on a really good show. Just we put together a quick desk, a few casters, and we have the full package just there, ready to go, and it shows really like what we're capable of doing when we come together.
I think there's two moments that come to mind for me. The first is getting to attend Frag 17 and getting to cast a semifinal there. That was amazing. Really kind of lucked into it, but it was really fun, really awesome. And then second is in getting to cast just names that I've seen as I grew up with Counter-Strike and watched at majors before. Now they're not as good, but to see them and get to continue to tell their story, I think it's really awesome. Those are the highlights for me.
So I watch Counter-Strike for the reason of getting inside of the heads of the players as they are as players, and I cast Counter-Strike in order to get a connection to the players as they are as people. I like meeting them on LAN. I've had the opportunity to cast them on LAN one time, and each time that I cast a game, whether it be on LAN or offline, or online rather, I think that it's just important to be able to then connect with them outside of the game. Hey, really appreciated your cast. I feel like you really understood the way that we played. I really understand the way that they play on another level as well. So when we have that connection, it kind of builds my willingness to continue to move forwards, because it reinforces the way that I look at the game as well as how I look at them as people and as players.
Mm-hmm. And so with that, you've all had various different roads to where you are today. Some of you are at higher level, some of you are at a lower level in terms of what you cast or what your responsibilities are. So I wanted to end things off with one piece of practical advice to someone who wants to start casting NACS, and then one piece of sort of more more spiritual advice, something they can fix with their stream or fix with their, enunciation or whatever it comes to mind, and then one sort of big picture idea for them to become a better content creator. Anyone brave enough to be the first one called on in class? Vin, come on down.
Could you repeat the 3 though real fast?
No, there's only 2.
There's 2? Okay. That's why I need the repetition.
So 2. First one, practical piece of advice that something they can do, whether it's with their stream, with themselves, with their voice, with anything to make their lives easier and to make their product better. And then one sort of big picture idea, like how to approach the philosophy of being an NA caster.
So I'll start with the second one, how to approach philosophy. Every game is valuable. There's not a game that there aren't games that don't matter to anyone. It matters to somebody. So it doesn't matter what you're casting. Put everything into that and make it important. And then a real tangible piece of advice, like how to improve and how to move forward. Actually go look back at your VODs, look at what you're doing, and do some vocal warm-ups as well.
Sure. I mean, one thing in terms of practical advice when it comes to running a broadcast, a lot of times in NA we're running it alone. It's a single person will be casting, producing with playcast now, observing as well. I think practically it's okay to know that you'll be making mistakes, and that's fine. It's to recognize them and kind of manage them. Manage those risks and know how to move forward for them and understand kind of what you're doing to be able to improve on that kind of trajectory. But even spiritually too. I mean, when it comes to the NA scene. Because we're also kind of alone in that sense, it's important to also be able to reach out to each other. I remember initially when I was first talking to people at Rates, Vinson was someone I was talking to about, how do I figure out how much do I charge, right? What's my day rate? What do I charge per mat? That kind of thing. Being able to reach out to each other is a really important thing to be able to do.
My thing about casting is that when you start casting as a solo caster, typically you're the only one doing it. And as you move forwards, you have to realize your strengths and your weaknesses. Over time, you'll be able to either build on your strengths or realize your weaknesses and work on them. But over time, you'll also need to realize that sometimes there's not something you can do about your weaknesses. And that's where you find your duo caster. That's something where you find somebody who can aid and remedy the things that you aren't exactly able to figure out right. And as you work on your strengths, if you have someone who's able to either A, expose your weaknesses to you, or B, emphasize your strengths to you to make them more apparent, that's great. But even with that, as a caster, you have to realize your weaknesses. You have to realize your strengths. Because if you aren't actively working to become better as they're saying, then you'll never get better. And if you go into casting expecting to be the same player and the same caster that you are, you'll never improve and you'll never find your way at a higher level because no one will see you for anything more than you started as.
Probably a couple things. One, remember at the end of the day, you are owed nothing. This is all for fun at the end of the day. Yes, it's a job, but if you're not having fun, you're not going to do well. You need to enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to deliver a good product. And if you feel you're owed something, you're also not going to enjoy it. So take everything as a blessing, as something that it's an opportunity, it's a gift. Every single game we get to cast is a gift. That's the main thing for me. It keeps me going through those weird hours and everything. It's just every single thing. I get to cast Counter-Strike. What more can I ask for?
Yeah, and I would definitely say the first thing would be building a network. So I think for what I mean by that is I rely on some close colleagues and asking how they feel about my work and what they can pinpoint on the goods and the bads. So I think that's a really good thing for any aspiring caster. And the other thing is make sure your mic actually does sound good because that is probably my worst thing that I ever see. So, and don't read Twitch chat. Don't ever read it. It's not useful and helpful.
For me, the biggest thing when you're starting out is to slow things down. Less is more. Don't trip over your words if you're speaking fast at all times. It's all going to sound fast and nothing's going to be special. You have to control the pacing, control the tone. Take a break every once in a while when you're starting out solo. It's hard to do that, but take a break. And the biggest thing for me in improving is looking for those phrases that you get stuck on. It's going to evolve. You're always going to find another phrase to get stuck on a rut on. You got to figure out what those phrases are, eliminate them, even outright entirely, and then slowly work them back in and find a happy balance. You're always trying to find that balance. In fact, you'll probably never reach it, but finding, or at least trying to attain that balance is my path to getting better as a caster.
I don't know. I think the best thing to say would be to just get involved. I mean, getting your start is really just that first step, right? And I mean, if that means meeting other casters or just casting a bunch of advanced games and whatever, just putting your name out there really can make the world a difference in how things move forward. And then, some people look at it as oh, they need all this sort of stuff to get started. You really don't. I mean, a decent $20 mic from Amazon or something like that will get you so much of the way there. And, it's just about honing your craft and just constantly improving and making yourself a better caster, and that's how you just continue to build forward into it.
And so those are the practical steps they've said to improve your craft. They said that's a philosophy that guides their decisions, and it's clear all of you love NACS. If you're watching a match at midnight, if you're watching a match at 3 a.m., if half the Twitch chat is Russian or Portuguese, these are the guys who'll be backing you up. So, but remember, the main thing for you guys, long live NACS, right? All right, thank you guys so much for your time, and that's hit stop. Thank you, Kornel.